Well, we're going to talk about buyer funnels. There's a number of people that have been wondering, what do I do on the buyer side? So we're going to cover that and kind of some of the best practices around those things. And uh, then we'll kind of take it from there, from the listing side and that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
no, and that's cool. And if anybody has, because it's always nice to hear who's running buyer funnels and running them successfully. So if you have some buyer wins, we'd love to hear about it first and foremost, because most of the time we talk about sellers, as everybody knows that comes here. But who's running the buyer ads and who's doing well with the buyer ads? And with that, I'd be curious to see what your automations have been like. And then who's running the listing ads and doing those successfully as well. And this way we can have a little chat about that for everybody.
Nobody?
Nobody? Bueller? Are we all sellers here?
Yep. I did one buyer's ad, but I didn't run it for very long because I had like two others going. So I got, I think, one person that clicked on, but I didn't go anywhere. So.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. I did, actually during the trial, I did a buyer's ad, and then I did it again for a short period of time. But I've only been doing seller ads basically since then. I've probably literally ran buyer's ads for maybe 48 hours total.
Yeah, and the key on the buyer side is no different than what you do with the seller side and how you split test it. So I think there's a key element there to get a successful buyer campaign. And then what we're finding on the buyer side actually is the custom ones are working really well. And so Troy, I'm sure you'll have a few you can talk about today. Also the lead ad right next to the listing ad, it's a lead ad version of the buyer ad, it's got close to a $4 average phone number submission right now. And that's over about 150 people testing it. So that would be a hot one for everybody here to try on the buyer side. So we can talk a little bit more about that. And Troy, I don't know if you have something ready to show, or Logan, if you have any examples of what you've built for somebody, because I know you've done a lot of tweaks there, but maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
I don't have a ton of examples or anything to show, but I will say that for anybody interested in doing the buyers template, obviously the best one to use if you have a listing, use that listing ad, and we're gonna, I'm sure, show it here. But the one where you're able to advertise your own listings, acquire buyers, seems to be the most effective way of acquiring buyers right now. However, if you don't have a listing or somebody in your offices whose you can share, it's important that you use maybe the buyer to seller conversion. But if you look at the numbers on it, we have roughly an 11% click to contact ratio on it currently, because the people who are setting it up are trusting it as default and not adding a few little spices to it, so to speak. And what I like to always say is you're going to want to make sure you add an amenity, right? Because if you're just offering a list of homes in a particular area and under a particular price point, you're missing a large portion of the most attractive call to action, right? So what I mean by that is consider what people are buying in your area. What are people really looking for? For us here locally in Kelowna, I mean, we're getting back into our warmer season. It's pools. Everybody wants a pool here, right? So understand what people in your local market are looking for. And the reason why I mentioned something like a pool, think of it this way. If somebody were to offer me, let's say, 600, 700,000 for my home, would I sell it? Absolutely not. Do I want to sell my home? I don't. However, what I don't have in my current location is a pool, right? So if I saw, would you like to see a list of homes in Kelowna, let's say under 750,000? No, I'm not overly interested. But are you interested in a list of homes in Kelowna under that same price point with a pool? All of a sudden, even as a homeowner, I may take action on this. So you're getting kind of both sides of the deal, but it's significantly more attractive, because do I just want to see a list of homes in an area at a price point? Maybe not. But if it has that one particular amenity I'm looking for, you now have my attention. I'm going to click on it, and now you have a reason to open up a dialogue. And you have, once again, we're always talking about cashing in your opportunities, right? It's another opportunity to speak to either a homeowner or somebody who is looking for that particular amenity. So that works really well. The other thing that I find works really well right now is if you use the custom lead ad and basically pose the question of how much are you paying in rent, right? Respond to this ad with how much you're paying in rent, and I'll send you a list of homes that you'd be able to get for a similar mortgage, right? So in other words, if you're paying $2,200 a month in rent, let me send you a list of homes in and around that, you know, $400,000 to $500,000 range, which you might be able to you know, get and afford based on how much you're currently putting out. So there's a couple angles there that work really, really well. Same thing as always, work with us, work with your coach, and we'll be able to kind of help you set a few up, but consider the amenity and consider the rent angle as well.
Hey, Troy, if you like, I can go through a couple of things that I show people on this site too, if you like.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
So if I really like how you were just showing the school district there as well. With the ad, there's so many different ways you can put it together. And Logan, you're totally right with the amenities. So I'll just share my screen and just show you a couple of things that I look at just in my account here. So first off, for everybody that's in here, I'm going to try to go through them. Who's here running a buyer ad? If just wave your hand if you're running buyer ads, if you've run any before. I'm just kind of going through everybody to take a look. So yeah, a couple hands, but not a ton of people, it seems like. Or who here wants to run a buyer ad? You just wave your hand. Okay, so lots of you guys want to run some of the different buyer ads. Okay, great. So when you're in the funnel section here, the one that Logan and Troy had just had a screen on is this one here. It's called the buyer to seller conversion ad. And this is the most typical one you would have run, especially if you're in trial, you would have run this ad here. And this is the one he was just showing you, and he was putting in either a school district or an area and a price point. And typically, if you can, you should upload your own image of that ad. This one's great because we call it the buyer to seller ad, because actually in the campaign, if you go through it, and I'll show you how you can test these too, if you go through the whole campaign, it actually asks the buyer if they have a home to sell. But one of the things you'll notice, we get a little bit more data than you get on yours. You'll see that the average lead here is for the 1,400 people that have been running is about almost about $10, right, for that contact information. So one of the new ones, if you're brand new to starting a buyer ad, Logan had touched on it here. This is the one that I would launch. It's called the buyer campaign lead ad. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it. But one of the key things you should notice right away is our average lead for the 120 people running this one is $4, and that includes a phone number. So significantly cheaper if you like phone number leads. Like actually this lead up here, again, I mean, it's going to average out for a lot of people, but you know, you're at a $20 phone number, and we're going to get about a $4 phone number here. So I want to show you how I set this one up. And you know, feel free to jump in with many questions as you want, Troy, Logan, Marcus as well. So the first thing that I really consider with this ad here is exactly what Logan was talking about, which is an amenity. So, oh, nice big beep there. So it might be, you know, homes with a main floor master, and then you can pick either the city, like we live in a city called Kelowna, or ideally, if I was going to do it, I would actually run a list of different neighborhoods. So I like the idea, Logan, that you said with, you know, see how much you're paying in rent. But one of the things that I found out of the clients that have been coming to the Ad Tweaks classes is ideally target a neighborhood that is almost a move-up neighborhood. So think about a neighborhood that you'd love to sell more homes in that isn't an entry point neighborhood. And the reason being, if you target, like in our case, it would be an area called Upper Mission. There's many of them, but this is a good example. People that are moving into Upper Mission typically aren't first-time home buyers. They tend to have a home to sell. So I look at these leads as you can actually pay more for them than you could for some other neighborhoods, just because typically you're going to get a listing to sell as well. And then it might be a home with a master, or it might be like, you know, homes with pools like Logan described, or even under 500, you know, 700K or whatever it is. There's lots of ways that you can run these ads. I was working with a client out of Oregon, and we were running homes with RV parking. It was a big thing for some of the neighborhoods we were looking there. So this is a great way to test both amenities and neighborhoods. And then when it comes to the image, people are running a lot of these stock photos, and they do work. You know, I see this one a lot. I see a bunch of different ones. But think about it, like if you're gonna run it to a specific neighborhood and you're gonna say homes with RV parking, make sure that you've got a home with RV parking. So in that case, I would definitely upload your own image, like click upload a file, find one that you can use. You can even use like a free stock photo, or you can use something that's local to your market, but try to match that image. And these ones I find are working really, really well. If anybody's gonna, before I go on, anybody have to add anything to that, or have you been trying some of these ads? No? Yep, just gonna keep going. So this is definitely the one that I would start with. And I'm gonna show you how the automation on this works as well, and how to build that out. When you click this though, the next steps, let's just say I picked an image, and let's just say this was my image, and this is my RV parking, which isn't a great example. But when I click next, it's then going to ask you for a follow-up URL. And this is really where you're going to send people after they build the ad. So after they click and give you all their contact information. So some of you are able to actually put together lists of properties using your IDX that match that. So if you can, like one of the things I know a lot of people can do is if they actually create a custom list for their buyers of say RV parking and they're sending that as an email out, there's typically a URL that they can use and they can put that in here. And that means that when people come through, they'll actually land on that list of properties and get that email. Some of you can't do that and you might want to just send them to your website. But basically, you're going to want to send them as close to the information as you can about this list of properties. So if you can't take them to, say, a list of homes with RV parking, take them to at least where they can search for homes on your website. And then in the initial email, just put in there, it'll automatically build it. But when you I'll show you what that looks like. So this is just a demo account because it's my account. But when you click on My Funnels, so if you ever want to if you ever launch a campaign, you click on My Funnels. Whoops, I just accidentally clicked the wrong button. Go back to it. And then if you click on My Funnels, here's like let me just grab you one of these custom ones that I did. Sorry, these are all, okay, here we go. I click Edit on this one. Here would be the initial email that's being sent out. And you can see, like I actually changed it, but this is where it puts in the link automatically. So thanks for requesting a list of, there's a testing ad. So it would be homes of, with RV parking in Kelowna. Below is a link of all of the, the RV parking homes available. This list is updated every 50 minutes. So this may not be the case for you. This is the pre-built out email that gets created, but that's okay. Just go in here and change that. So you might want to say something like, I just sent you to my website. I won't put that in right now. I just sent you to my website. I'm actually going to be building this list for you manually. And I'm going to get it to you in the next like 24 hours, whatever it is. I'm going to add you. How many bedrooms are you looking for? Or would you like me to add to the list, right? So you can actually customize this any way you want, and you can still send them to your website. If you have that direct link, you can obviously it's going to automatically pull that in here from when you build the campaign as well. And then of course you just hit save, and that's your initial email. It's also going to build out a couple text messages. So here's the first text message that's going out. It actually pre-builds in, thanks for requesting a list of homes with RV parking. Please check your emails you should be receiving in the next few minutes. You could change this delay. Right now it's waiting about 2 minutes, which I like. Then you have a follow-up one, which is about 4 minutes later that's going to say, by now you should have received the list of homes with RV parking in Kelowna. Please let us know if you've received it. We'd love an opportunity to help you in your search if there's anything specific you're looking for. I know a lot of people are actually coming in here and they're changing this to a different delay. So they're actually saying that they're going to run it 1 day later and no other delay. And so the next day, it's just like a nice little follow-up text message. But all of this automatically builds for you based on the criteria you put in the ad. Well, you can always come in here and you could add more text messages. You could add more follow-up. You can, of course, customize this email and make another email, but it's built off of that buyer ad. And these ones are working really, really well. I mean, like you saw, a $4 phone number. So anybody have any questions or anybody want to try something or I can kind of walk them through setting something like this up?
I have a question. It's Mary.
Yep.
With regards to setting this automation for this funnel, when you save it, does it save to that like whatever it's called, like the seller, custom lead ad, or do you, like, if you're going to split test it 3 times, do you have to change the automation 3 times if you customize it, or will it copy it across the 3 different ads?
Great question. And this is probably one of the most asked for features when I'm running the ad tweaks class, because right now when you do run a new buyer ad, it has a couple steps built in, but of course if you go in and put your fingerprints on that and make that your own, right now you'd have to do that for each ad, which is a lot of work. And I totally understand that. So currently, yes, if you're launching say 3 buyer ads, outside of that default that I just showed you, you would have to make your changes on each ad to make that to run them. We are going to create a feature where you can route your leads to an existing automation. So it is really asked for a lot, especially in my ad tweaks classes, but unfortunately today you can't. So it does pre-build up those first few steps just to make it a bit easier. But yeah, if you're going to add anything to it, you'd have to add it after the fact right now. So I think that's your question, right?
Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, so I totally get it, and I can't wait for that feature to come live because I think it's going to save a lot of people time. And then you can also in the future you'll actually be able to route leads. So even if they finish an automation, you could actually have them go to another kind of long-term automation that's really just to kind of nurture them and keep them on board. The next ad that I really recommend, Logan also talked about, it's this property listing version 1. I'm sure some of you have run this. This ad is incredible. It doesn't work with every listing. So don't just try it once. And if it didn't work for your listing, don't try it again. Try it with a bunch of different listings. And I think, Logan, you made comment to this. You can even use other listings in your market as long as you just go and talk to that agent or whatever your rules are with your brokerage. But I mean, really for them, as long as the rules are, fit for your area, you're just giving them free marketing and advertising. You're just going to collect the leads that are going to come in off of that property. But if you've got a listing that is in high demand in your area, it is unbelievable how many leads that you can get in on these properties. So basically what you do is you click select, and I see questions coming in. So I'm going to check those questions in just a moment too. You just pick the city that you'd be targeting. So in this case, Kelowna. Let's just say it's a 5-bedroom home, 4-bathroom. I always go in and copy the description from your wherever it lives on your website. So you don't have to type this out. You can just go and copy and paste. And I would say, create curiosity. So be careful not to even say too much, but just focus on the description. Just make sure it's kind of saying curiosity and keep price out of it. So let's just say it was great family home. I mean, obviously you can have a little bit more than that, but something along those lines. Then the follow-up URL is where this listing lives on your website. So you've obviously got this listing up. If it's not on if it's not your listing, you can hopefully still find this listing on your website through your IDX. Or, I mean, you could even take them to a Realtor.com or Zillow or something where the listing is, but ideally take them to your website because you're going to try to keep them there. So you just put in the URL wherever that listing is. So if they click this link, they're going to land and they're going to see, that listing and the price and everything about that listing. So it's really simple. Again, ideally you would upload a custom file here for that listing. So you can just take one screenshot, the main one. You could take a bathroom, a kitchen shot. Those are the popular ones, or an outdoor shot. And just add a photo here. Another thing that I know a lot of clients are doing, and we've covered a lot in the past, is we use Canva a lot. And if you haven't used Canva, it's a free tool. I'll probably have some here. And Canva is great where you can just put, you can put 3 images of, say, a listing into one, and it spaces them out really nicely. I'm sure a lot of you have used it. It's a great, great tool. And you can see suddenly, this is quite an interesting photo now. I got 3 different photos. So back to the amenities, it's speaking to me about a pool. It's speaking to me about a single family home. It's a single level. It's speaking to me about maybe, what the living room looks like. So this is a great image to pull people, get people's attention. You click next. You literally just choose your targeting. And the great thing about this again is, when you think about it, let's just say, is people are going to be coming from, all over. When it comes to buyer ads, they're not going to just be coming from that neighborhood. So this 15-mile radius can actually really play it well into your favor, because you can really think, okay, I think most of the people are going to be maybe coming from, let's say, northern San Diego in the case of this one I'm showing right now. So you can kind of move your targeting there, and that's where, it's going to be showing that listing to all these people. When you're running the ad, you click done, next, and you hit launch. And just think about what this listing would be worth to you if you sold it, and then hit deploy, and that all gets built out. So then you can also build custom text messages and email on this campaign too. So I'm
just coming back to the targeting there.
Yeah.
I always want to make sure that people are aware, because some people, we talk so much about the 15-mile radius on the seller side. On the buyer side, because we're talking about people that are probably looking to move into the area, it's not necessarily a lateral move, right? This isn't where you target specific neighborhoods or maybe specific cities. I would go much further out. Take something not too crazy, but 30 miles, for instance. Because now you're going to be capturing people that are kind of in that surrounding area that are looking to move into, in this case, maybe they're looking to get out of Denver and Boulder and move into Boulder, right? Yeah. Or you can also start targeting out of state or even out of country, right? So a good example would be agents that are in Phoenix. They might be wanting to target buyers who are, us Canadians up here who are looking for vacation property down there, right? So you could set up some targeting, let's say in Alberta. right? So you can kind of open it up a lot more wider, and now you're going to be delivering this ad to a lot more people. So always be aware of kind of those insider things. Also, being really close to kind of watching where trends are, what trends are happening, because there's a big trend right now where a lot of cities are trying to attract remote workers. So they're trying to attract, people who are, let's say, from the Bay Area who can no longer afford to live there. They're trying to attract them into the smaller cities where it's a lot more affordable to live, right? So if you kind of know what some of those trends are and what's happening, if there's, big tech centers that are being built out in your city, and you know that people are interested in moving into those, target those areas. It's going to be piquing the interest of people that are wanting to move into the area.
Yeah, really, really quick on that point. I mean, obviously, when we're talking amenities, I'd say that's one that I always look for is if you live outside a major city where the prices kind of similar to what Troy's mentioning there are a little bit higher. We live close to a city called Vancouver, for anybody's familiar, and a lot of people are being priced out of the area. So if you consider one of the surrounding cities that it's a more affordable price point, consider your amenity being transit, right? Because these people who are being priced out of the larger cities, they still have family, friends, occupations. They have reasons to get to these major city centers, but can no longer afford the $1.2 or $1.8 million price tag, right? So if you are able to then say list of homes, let's say once again for anybody who's familiar with Vancouver area, in let's say Burnaby for under 600,000 near transit, right? All of a sudden you're going to get an influx of people from the major city who can no longer afford there, want to move slightly outside. Maybe they can get land. Right? They don't have to buy a condo anymore. They can actually buy a house, but are still close to transit, be it the transit in this case being the amenity that they'd be seeking.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So these, if you're new to the buyer side, these two ads I would start with. And again, the kind of like the tips that I would include with this is try to think about move up neighborhoods and try multiple neighborhoods. So I would run this ad in 3 different neighborhoods, and you could even do a 4th ad that's maybe your entire city, for example, right? And test all of them. And before you go to great lengths to build up the automations, I think someone had asked a great question there, like, can I move all my automations? Keep in mind that these are going to, they're going to include a basic automation. So maybe at the beginning, just launch 4 of them with the basic automation to save you time. Wait to see which of those ads is getting really good results or which area. And maybe you even, now that you know which area it is, may even try a few more and you're like, hey, I'm really happy with these results. Then spend the time to work on your automation. Because at the beginning, there's enough in there to at least get the lead started. And then you don't have to spend all this time thinking through each step only to turn some of those ads off like a couple days later, right? So that's what I would do on these. And I think with the listing ad, it's a little different because when you launch it, it's not going to include a whole lot of automations, but you could just go in and put one text or one email that's kind of a generic email for any listing. And then every time you create a new one, just maybe go put that initial email and initial text. Because once you got that email saved, you can just link it in really fast again. Just again, the listings are, these ones here are going to have more of like a limited lifespan, right? Like they're going to, for a period of time, that listing is going to be on the market and then it's not going to be on the market. But it's a great one to run kind of on an ongoing basis, like every month, try to get another listing on, and you're going to be re-engaging all of those buyers in that market. And of course, now that you've got them in your database, you can market to them for free. So you can put like something I think is great, like these people are coming in looking for a list of homes that say, in the case that I did, Upper Mission in our city, Kelowna, with a pool or whatever it is, right? Now that I kind of know that they came in for this, and in follow-up emails, you can mass email them and say something like, you expect, even if they haven't responded to you, you could say, I'm actually putting together a list of homes, maybe it's investment properties or homes in this market at this price point with pools. Would you like me to send that to you as well? And it's a simple yes, no, but it gets that conversation going. You can say, and I think this is a key thing to say at the end of it, say, it's no trouble for me at all. Because sometimes people won't do it if they think it's going to take a lot of your effort for you. But if you say, hey, it's no trouble for me at all for me to do this, they'll respond back and say, yes, can you please put me on your list as well? And because you're giving them something of value, you can say, great, I'd love to do that. Are you also looking for 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms or whatever it is for this list? And you can help customize it. And I think it's a great way. Once they've come in for something, they're obviously thinking about it. Offer them other lists of properties, and that will actually get you to the goal as you're peeling back the onion of what they're actually looking for. What home are they after? What's the area they're after? And what's the price point that they're specifically after? And if they have a home to sell. So those are kind of my 2 cents on these two. And I love these ones as buyer ads. I also really like the buyer to seller one that we have up here. We have a buyer to seller one with no price as well. But I've just seen really, really good results in my ad trees classes with these two. So that's what I'd recommend to start with. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Really quick on that as well. For anybody who, if you're sending people to your website and your website has a trigger to capture leads as they hit your website, just know that there's ways to get around that as well. So, because what's going to happen with this, it's like the Matrix. They're going to take the red pill or the blue pill, right? They're going to click on this. They're going to get a Facebook branded pop-up, and it's going to then ask them, to submit their information. It's going to pre-fill all their information from Facebook already, which is the nice thing. And then obviously once they click on that, they're going to be then delivered to your website, right? Now, if when they get to your website, you have a lead capture on there as well, it may obviously not be the information you're looking to get. So my recommendation on that is talk to your webmaster, and they can usually build in an extra little link essentially so that that URL you're sending them to bypasses that capture screen. So if you're unsure how to get that to work, obviously, once again, just reach out to whoever's hosting your website, and they'll be able to help you build that in. We can help you add that to the URL.
Can I ask a quick question? It's Mary again. So with regards to that, that totally makes sense. However, what if you send somebody to the website and they want to start, creating and saving searches? It'd be ideal from my perspective if they did log in and create an account so that I can watch and track the different searches that they're creating, the properties that they're looking at. So really ideally for me, yes, it's great to get the lead captured when they register on Facebook, but I think it's more beneficial for me to actually have it on my website so that I actually have, history on the account for that individual versus just somebody coming in and looking and not having any information about what they're looking for, what price points, because maybe the ad draws them in, but they're actually looking for something else. And I would love to be able to allow them that freedom to create that.
Yeah, I mean, it's once again, it's personal preference and style. You absolutely don't need to make that exclusion so that when they get sent to your website, if you do once again have that lead capture that is going to get the information and kind of set up that profile within your system, by all means, leave it exactly like that. Once again, what we're trying to do is set up and offer different options and opportunities based on what you're looking for. But if you have a capture on your page that's working and that you like, absolutely, by all means, use both, right?
I was going to say, I've seen people we have a custom listing ad too, and you can come in here and use a very similar thing. You could say, it's 3 beds, whatever it is, or, some details about it. And then you can include on the bottom, sign up on my website for new listing alerts or whatever it is that that people would like to get. And you can include that. So at least when they come through, they're expecting to do that as well. So that's something you can always do too.
I think a big part of that too is, a big part of that too is what you say in your initial auto email, because you're going to fill in the missing pieces of what they wanted. They wanted a blanket list, but then you're going in for the specific questions that'll get a conversation started about what they specifically want: amenities, price point, neighborhood, or whatever you missed out on that blanket ad you ask in the first email to get that refined list. That would be my, my go-to would be a bomb video with a few quick questions regarding that specific list to cover you. And then they'll get you talking for that person who wants that ideal style property or neighborhood that they want to be in, or certain amenity that you're asking for.
Okay, cool, thank you. And then is there a way to track, so say you're running all these different buyer ads, right? Buyer lead ads, and it's a variety of different neighborhoods. How is the best way to track what neighborhood that buyer lead came from? Is it just the ad number on it? You know what I mean? So like say you're running an ad for San Diego and then another ad for, I don't know, another town, Encinitas. What's the best way to keep track of what neighborhood that attracted that buyer lead?
Yeah, let me just show you how to do that. It's we have something really exciting coming out in about a week, which is going to make this even easier. But for right now, if you're doing that, it's going to take a while to load my ads page because I have a trial account. Okay. So one of the things you can do is, if you see a lead come in, when you see the ad IDs under any of these leads that would be coming in, if you just, the simplest way right now is I just basically copy this ad ID. I go to my ad side, just ignore all this stuff here. And I hit, and I paste that. Oh, I hope it's gonna actually work on my trial account. Let me just see if this will work. Let's try this one. Sorry, I'll have to, maybe have to do a real account. Yeah, but here's an example. So then as you paste it in, it's gonna show you, this is the ad ID, and then I would be able to match that lead up to here. The problem is this is just a dummy account, so it doesn't work quite the same as your account well. But that's how, if you're running, say, you know, this is a neighborhood in San Diego and this is another neighborhood in San Diego, it's just kind of an easy way to go back and kind of check it with just kind of looking at it that way. And once you get familiar that you know, like the 69462 is always linked to, say, your Kelowna home or whatever it is, then it makes it a little easier to see when they're coming in. But we have a really cool new feature coming out, which will be able to filter all your leads by your ads here. So, but that's kind of the short answer right now on how to do it.
And Steve, can you go back to the ad screen for a sec and scroll up just for a quick sec for me? So for everybody else as well, until the other new feature is available, go to the very top. You're going to see a little drop down at the top there that says all, so that you can click on all and go down to active, and it'll filter any old ads that you had previously paused. So it'll only then show those that are currently active. So if you had, you know, 50 ads in here, you're now only going to see those that are active, so that you can compare your results a little bit easier as well.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And then another quick question. So when you export contacts into like a Excel or whatever CSV file, is there a ad number associated with that contact that gets
Currently
exported?
there isn't. No, there isn't right now. So if you export, it's just going to do, you basically do it by automations, which this is going to be a bit overwhelming because I got so many here. But normally, if you have, say, a seller automation, and then you could do it by your buyers. But other than that, you can either include your notes or not. So if you did add it into the notes, like if you were doing it as a separate thing here, you could export that. So for instance, if you were saying this is my, like, oops, I'm gonna double click this, my San Diego, oops, Kelowna ad or whatever it is, then that's one way to do it.
Okay.
Kind of as a workaround right now.
Okay.
The beautiful thing is once the new filtering gets released for you guys on this side is then you can actually filter by whatever you want. So you could filter by tag, you could filter by ad ID, you could filter by you know, the name of the client or addresses or zip codes or whatever it may be. And then when you hit export, you can get all that list. So
Okay, cool.
this is a good workaround for right now. Cool. And you actually had triggered something else that I was going to mention. Let's see if it's going to come back to me. I'm not sure if it's going to come back to me. So maybe, well, maybe it won't. So one thing I just want to talk about too, and this is going to be standard and live on everybody's account in the near future, but if you ever want to see it, this is something that I talk a lot about too on the AdTools classes, and if I've gone through it before, it's always a good refresher. If you go to your link here and you type in V2 at the end, let's get rid of this for a second, and you type in V2, it's going to show you a different view of this screen. And what it's really going to do is it's focusing in on your ROI side. So I just have to wait for this one to load because I got a million ads in here. And so yours will be a little faster. But there's a new video. So there's a video here you can watch as to how it works. You just click this and I'll kind of walk you through all the steps. But this is the key part. So this is actually, this would be a good example. Here's an ad that we're running. Now let's just say Pittsburgh North. And the lead price on here, you're seeing the max lead price is $19.50. And his current lead price in this example here is about $9. And so what is this and what does it all mean? So one of the things that we look at is how much can you pay for your ads in a certain area? So it's great to think about like $4 leads or $5 leads or $2 leads, or what if my area is $20 leads and how do I know that? So one of the things that whenever you're building an ad, you know how you see that price point when you're building it, and typically the default is $6,500. You need to update whatever it is in your market. And you can do that on the screen by hitting that little screwdriver here and you click update. And this will now adjust what my max lead price is. And this is based on what we consider minimum conversion rate. So let's say you were bringing in leads over the course of a whole year and you brought in 100 leads over the course of a year. So let's just work with 100 leads. We're going to say that in that year, you're going to convert 1.5% of your leads. So 1.5%, that basically means out of that 100 over the course of a whole year, one of those buyers or sellers became a transaction for you, and another half, right? So just for the rough math. So 1.5 of those leads actually turn into business for you. If that was the case, you're actually going to get a 5 times return on your Facebook investment under that math. So, and that's at a $27 lead price. So that means that if you were paying $27 for every one of those 100 leads and you converted 1.5 of them over the course of the year, you're going to get a 5 times return. At $9, you're going to get, you know, like basically a 15 or 13 times return because it's considerably lower. So this is something you should keep in mind. Like if you're marketing in San Diego or LA or the Bay Area or Vancouver up in Canada or Toronto, you're paying a lot more per lead. You should be, because your leads are worth so much more to you from a commission standpoint. So make sure that you keep this in mind for your own market, and even neighborhoods vary, right? Like one neighborhood might be, let's say $300,000 and another neighborhood $700,000. So you'll want to update that when you run the ads, and this is how you figure out the math. So then what I look at with anybody that's in the ad tweaks classes is that if you're over this, unless you're getting really good results, like maybe you're happy to pay a little bit more because you got really high conversion, you've got a great system on that one. But normally I would say that if you're over this, you should try another ad in your market. I believe you can always get under that. I've never actually seen an area where we haven't been able to get under it. So I believe you can. Some people can be close to it because they like the leads, and they're the lead quality at the end of the day comes down to your system and what's working for you. And don't just turn it off just because you've got like a $9 lead or a $20 lead, because if you're actually getting conversion on it, you're still going to make like 6 or 7 times your money. Sorry, I lose my voice a bit today. But at $9, you've got lots and lots of room. So that's one of the things I look at. Then the next thing I always look at on this side is, where is it trending? So again, a $2 difference is not a very big trend on this, considering that I have up to $27 I can spend on this. Even if this had gone up to say $12, I'd be watching it over time. But I would say, when you're seeing small differences like that, especially knowing what your room is, I think this is a helpful number, so you know what your ceiling is when you're looking at your ads. You know sort of where you can go with your ads. And if you start trending past the safe zone, or you're starting to get closer to this number, yeah, maybe it's time to relaunch this ad or try another one, or try a different market, or just try the same market with, we got a bunch of different creatives in there that you can try. So that's one of the things I look at. The other one I look at is, where your cost per click is tracking. But you see, this ad's tracking really well in my mind. Even if it was going the other way a little bit, I'd be totally fine with it still. So does that make sense a little bit how we figure that out? Over the course of about a year of StreetText, you need to look at how many leads that you converted. And you need to figure out what your own conversion rate is, because you might have a 2% conversion rate, which means you could actually technically spend a little bit more per lead. You might have a 1% conversion rate, and you may want to adjust these numbers a little bit accordingly, just so you know kind of what your safe zone is. But what's insane about your conversion rate is incrementally, like if we could take your conversion rate, let's say in the case of 1.5% here, and let's just say you were paying $27 a lead and that was your max, and so you're at 5 times your money. If you could move your conversion rate by attending the masterminds over the course of a whole year, and you're attending a mastermind once a week, could you get 0.25% better every month, a little bit on your conversion? Let's just say you bring it up to a max of 2.5 to 3% of your conversion. You will double the amount of leads that you're going to convert, and you'll double your ROI. So I have often tell people, worry less about a couple more dollars on your ads and worry much more about a tiny percentage point on your conversion. A tiny percentage point on your conversion will mean that you could double your return on the system. And then the lead price going up or down, especially when it's going down at different times of the year, is just a bonus, right? But focus on the conversion side. But I think it's hard for people to know that if they don't know what their ceiling is. So this is a really good way for you to sort of know what your ceiling is. You can feel comfortable. Hey, look, if I only convert 1.5% of my leads at $27, I'm doing fine. Now I can focus on my conversion side, and I can keep an eye on this to make sure it's within the range that I feel comfortable with. So I don't know if anybody's got anything else to add to that, but I think that's a really helpful piece of advice when you're working with your leads.
Can I ask another question? It's Mary.
Yeah.
So knowing your max lead price, would you still set your current lead price at $9 while testing the ad, or would you increase it while you're doing the split testing? Or like, what's sort of the best practice with that? Like, do you still do the $9 per ad, split test it till you start seeing the results, then start increasing your spending on that ad?
Yeah. Okay. I almost need to go into somebody's account so I can show you this. But one of the things that, let's just say in your market, you've run a few different ads and you start seeing that your average lead is about $9. And if that's the case, you always should, in my mind, from what I've seen, is you should have your daily budget not much lower than what your average lead price is coming in at. So if you're seeing your average lead price is about $15, let's say, you're probably in a bit more of a premium market. And you probably have a little bit more room in your market, and you should probably have maybe closer to a $13 or $14 a day budget. This $27 lead price is just saying what your max is on what you're willing to spend on it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's your max daily spend. Like you could be spending, $40 a day on this ad. You could spend $80 a day on this ad. You just need to make sure that your lead price is not trending above this here. But the reason I said that first part is I see some people with an average lead price, and I've seen it over and over and over again in their market. Like let's just say it's like an LA-based market that we're looking at, and we're tending to get, like say, $15 leads, and they have $3 a day on their ad budget. If you think about it, the system, it's going to take roughly 5 days to get a lead on that budget. And so you're really not giving the system, the Facebook, much of an opportunity to get a result for you. And because of that, you're going to start to trend down with your ads. Like you're just going to lose more and more and more auctions. So that's just kind of a separate thing, but that's something I like to keep. So when you're testing, like I think that $8, $9 a day still works really well for roughly all markets. You get some markets that you can spend $5 a day because, they're cheaper markets. But once you start seeing where your leads are trending, kind of match your daily budget a little bit to that leads. Like you don't want to be spending $3 a day if you're getting $9 or $10 leads. But at this price point, you could spend $9 a day, you could spend $20 a day, you could spend $40, you could probably spend as little as $7, but I wouldn't spend really anything less than that to get these results, if that makes sense.
All right, so just to clarify, so that $9 a day isn't the $9 just to run the ad, it's $9 per email lead. That's
so yeah, that's right. This is,
all right.
This is your daily.
I was under the impression for some reason that I thought I was spending $9 a day on the ad, not $9 per.
No, you are. Sorry if I made that confusing.
Okay.
And maybe I can jump into on that. This is your daily budget. Like if I change this and I made that say 9 or 10 or 20 or whatever it is, that is your daily budget that you're spending on that ad.
Okay.
This is what the system is averaging out. Like for the $81 that we've spent out of that $9 a day, we have brought in 9 emails, which means we've spent $9 an email. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
In the last 7 days, we've spent $55 on this ad. And out of those 7 emails we brought in, we're spending about $7.89. So it's trending down, which is good. That means that the average is going down. But I'm still spending $9 a day. I'm just I'm seeing what the results are of that contact information. And you can't really know that until you've got the ad running a little bit. I mean, you'll all know this. But I keep that in mind. Like if historically, I might want, say, $5 leads, but I keep getting 9. And if I look historically at all the ads I've ever run, they're always about 9, 9, 9. Some are 13, some are, then I'm like, I really can't spend $3 a day because I keep getting $9 leads, which means I'm probably in a market that's getting about that price point. And I need to make sure that I'm spending enough per day to at least, I try to get at least 1 lead per day on that because it's consistent fresh, right?
Okay, all right. So then just adjust your spend based off of your email lead pricing, maybe like 5% less than what you're actually spending on to get the email lead.
Yeah, and caveat on that too is like we have some clients that really ramp their ad spend up, and they do it because either they got teams or they whatever the system is that they've got dialed in, they're happy with it, and they just want to ramp up their budget. Don't take $8 and change it to $80 overnight. What you should do is you should incrementally move it up per day at about 25%, because if you make big adjustments on your budget too, you run the risk of having the system reset the algorithm, and you'll actually get brand new ad performance. So you kind of threw it all out.
Okay, all right, that's good to know.
Incremental changes, but we have lots of clients that spend $40, $50, $60, $70 a day on their ads because they've ramped them up because they're really happy with the results they're getting. They got a system in place, and it's a really fast way to grow because now they're bringing all these leads. Those leads turn into transit clients, and those transit clients are not referring, and it's just like this tip of the spear, but their sphere in the database is just growing exponentially. So you can ramp it up, but just do it incrementally.
Be mindful of it. Okay, that's good to know.
Hey, Steve, would you go to the funnels real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to highlight something. because I know we're focusing on buyers here, but a lot of people are stuck in the seller conversion ad template, not understanding that there's a couple other ad templates they want to consider, especially in a low inventory seller market. The seller equity conversion one, just below, if you go up, just below the typical ad we run is the seller equity conversion ad. And I find that works really well in markets that there is like very low inventory in. I see people do really well with that one. And it's just the same way you would treat it with the split tests and the variations of the satellite versus the terrain versus the map, and similar thing. It's actually a lot easier to run. So that one's one I would consider testing. And then the one on the bottom right, enter your address, get your home value. I'm seeing really good results as well. Actually, in some cases, higher click to contact ratios and lower cost per lead.
Yep.
But that one again is contingent a lot on the image you're going to be using. And it's not necessarily the stock photo you want to use. You want to maybe create a photo that's like a local landmark for you. Even an aerial photo shot, that's a really good one. And I was talking to a gal the other day. I was really having a hard time on the seller side, and because you can use it really any image here to see what your home is really worth, and it's really telling them to enter your address to receive your home value. So they know the next step is they have to enter the address, which in my mind is already letting them know what they have to give you and provide you. So you're bound to get seller leads that way. So that's a really good one to test in conjunction. So you just like we were talking about 3 different buyer ones you might want to consider today, you might want to consider 3 different seller style of ads as well. And that one is the typical one we always run, the equity, and then this last one, enter your address, get your home value. That is a hot one you should test.
This one really is. And it actually is, like you said, Marcus, overall a little cheaper right now to the 431 people running it, and it's working really well. So
we have Craig Metz on here who he has a really good example of his ad where, Craig, you went and took a photo of a clock in the downtown area. And so what's really great about that is it's a local landmark that that's familiar to them. It's not a home, like you see here, like this nice blue home. Well, when I look at that, that's not my home, right? So it doesn't resonate with me, but it's like, if you use like kind of a local landmark or something like that, or like Marcus said, an aerial photo of what it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's my area. If it was here in Kelowna, we have this statue downtown of these sales, right? And so if you do like an image like that, I'd be like, that's so iconic to where we live. It's like, oh yeah, I live in Kelowna. Yeah, I'm interested in what my home is actually worth.
And you can do a map as well, just like you do on the images that we run above. You can run a map. I've seen someone we were working with take that map and then put little prices all over that little map. And so that's another little idea for that particular what your home really worth is take a local map and throw some prices all over the board so they want to know what their home is worth. So just a thought, you can get super creative there on that specific funnel.
And I want to, that's a really good point. Like one of the things, like when we have enough data on the ad, you start to see a really good trending price point. And that's why Marcus and Troy and Logan and I are always recommending these different ads that we see really good results in. And so, but something I'd consider is also try some of our other ads. Even the ones like this one, we only have 44 people that have been running this ad, and it looks like it's more expensive, but maybe, just maybe, if you built this one out in your market, it would work good. So don't be afraid to just try, like, this is the percentage increase was 15% or whatever. Don't be afraid to try a couple of the other ads too, because you never know how well they'll do in your market. So, I would say go to the solid ones. Like we talked about some of the buyer ones and the seller ones now. Like these are you're going to get good results on these. And then if you have some time and you have a little bit of play money, which isn't like a ton, like if you think like I'll spend $9 on maybe trying another ad that I think might work in my market. It's like a couple coffees, but you were able to try something that if it works, you might get some really, really good results on it. And so, there's a whole bunch of different ones based on your market and sort of what might be happening in your market. So I would definitely consider, like, just recommend. I know we always go to the proven, and that's good that you should do that, but we don't have enough people testing these other ads, I think, because they're almost afraid to. But you should go.
So the question, Steve, too, and I often get is for people that are doing any sort of the custom stuff. And I know we have a document with that, like a custom lead ad and any of the custom stuff. Would you think that the best way to go about that would be to come to the Ad Tweaks class to address that, or what would be a really good tutorial to really use that one?
we are going to run a class on just custom ads. And in that class, we're going to go and we're going to basically screenshot a whole bunch of different custom ads for you so you can really see how they work. And we're actually, through the class, we're going to build one, and you can participate in that as well. And there's lots and lots of demand for that. There's some great campaigns. You can see out of all the 234 people that are running them right now, we're spending them on average about $5.92. But remember, some of these, like there's a lot of trial and error that goes into this. So if you think you're seeing about $6 leads, some of these ads are killing it because they're making up for all the bad trial and errors that have been going on in that as well, out of all the ads we've been running. So overall, there's some really, really good ones. We're going to run a class on that. And we're actually going to turn some of those best ones into templates to make it really, really easy for you in the future just to deploy them. So we're going to let you know when we're going to be running that class. But that's a whole class in itself on the custom side.
Awesome. Yeah, this is great stuff. I know we were going to try to hit a little bit on address only, but it seems like we're all in the ads and templates ideas. Does anybody want to share anything else before we move?
Yeah, real quick, because I've seen this in the group. The reuse for people that have been having ad problems and getting confused with that. And then also on the export, there'd been a question someone asked the other day. I'd set something out to them explaining that when they do the downloads, as far as exporting data out, that they can actually set the date for how far back they want the pulls to go. Because I just do a monthly pull out of mine and then upload it into my system because I'm still letting Julie handle everything out of the StreetText dashboard side of things. But some people have never done data pulls, knowing that once they do a math one, they can just come back and don't have to download the whole list and scrub to it, that they can just go back to the dates. So if I pull on the 7th of February, next month I would pull on the 7th of March instead of the 8th of March, simply because anything else that came on the 7th that I missed after the pull would kind of be dropped. But I know that other people haven't been able to do exports or understood how easy it is to do exports out of here.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you can just do a monthly poll. As long as you just have something in your calendar or your schedule, you know when you did it, you just to change the dates and away you go. That's a great idea. And then, sorry, the first comment again on that. What was the first thing you said on that? The
reuse. Because people have had ad problems, and I seen the other day they're talking about reuse, and no one understood it.
The reuse ad is, I'm going to couple things about it. So first off, when you look at the stats, they look really high. You just ignore those, like on our end. And so here's the reuse ad showing that the emails and phone numbers are like $600. And the reason being is just for the straight reason that we were having a really hard time connecting the stats back to our reuse ad. They were going for the old templates, so they weren't adjusting here. So just ignore that. That's not the case. Like your old leads, your ads tend to work the same way they did before. What the reuse ad is that when you launch a seller ad, let's say, and you've got one, and you might have been running, we've got lots of clients that have run their ads for years, and they love their ad, and they got lots of social engagement on everything else, and they want to reuse that ad. They don't want to have to just go and launch a brand new one and go to market with like zero social activity. You can do that through this. And so what you do is you click select, and you would come in here. There's a caveat, so just wait to the end before you go and do it. I'm going to show you something. But let's just say, like I'm seeing some of our own ads that we run here, right? Like, okay, why aren't more realtors doing this? Let's say I wanted to run this same ad again here, and maybe some of you have seen this one on Facebook, and I want to rerun it. I can, and you'd obviously pick one of your StreetText ads that you were running. You just click next, ignore this entirely. It just needs to be removed. It's because obviously with the new targeting with your Facebook, we ignore this now anyway, so don't even worry about that. You just put in your location like you were before, you click next, and it rename this one. So I would say something like, if I knew this was my Kelowna ad, and I could just say relaunch, I can even put the date or something, because it's not going to know what it was unless you put it in here. So you just have to put your own name in here. You just leave everything else the same. You can leave your budget, leave the objective as conversion now. I won't get out of that, but just leave this conversion, put in what this ad's worth to you, just like it was before, and click deploy. It will then relaunch this same ad you had before, and it will include all of the social engagement that you had. So in this case, you can see here I got 214 likes, 65 comments, 49 shares. All of that will go back to the market. You won't lose any of it, which is awesome. Because we were having problems with the stats, one of the only downsides is when you when you launch a reuse ad, you can never turn on again any of the previous ads you ever had for this one. So in other words, let's say this ad was running and because it's essentially exactly the same ad. You can never turn on the old one again. So if for some people, if your ad's just kind of trending down, but you're still happy with it, you wouldn't use the reuse function. You might want to A/B test a new ad against it because you kind of want to run both. You would only use the reuse when you know that ad, you're not going to be able to run both anymore. You know, like you love the old ad, but the performance is so off the charts now that you're going to just turn it off because the moment you relaunch it, it will shut down the old ad permanently and you'll never be able to turn it back on. I hope that makes sense. So use this when you want to relaunch your ad, you want to go back to the market, and you can relaunch the same ad as many times as you want. It'll just always shut down the previous one that you ran, and it'll never be able to turn it back on again. But you can relaunch as many times as you want. It'll just go in sequence, right? That makes sense. But this is a great way. You can keep all your social engagement on the ad. It goes back to the market. Social engagement has a big impact, obviously, on the perception of the ad when people see it. You know, we literally have had people running ads for like 4 or 5, 6, so many years now, and they don't want to lose all that engagement. So this is a great way to reuse that, and you won't lose your engagement. Hope that makes sense on the reuse. Thanks, Leon, for bringing that up. I don't know if there's any other questions on that.
Oh, it was great. Drop the mic.
Awesome. Good, good. Yeah, so but it is a great, like, I think that and we're going to do our best to try to organize this based on listings and buyers and seller leads. So we're going to keep optimizing this to make it easier and easier for you, but there's so much potential even in this one page, which is a funnel page. You can reuse old ads. There's so many different ones. We have this custom campaign, and we'll run that class. There's some really cool things that you can do. You can customize your automations, like this buyer ads, seller ads, listing ads.
Steve, Rick just asked, can you just turn on the old ad?
Can you turn on the old one? Yes. Like, you mean it instead of using the reuse, or?
Yeah.
Or
yes.
Yeah. So you can, like, if I had an old ad, I'm just imagining like it's going down in performance, and maybe you're averaging $6 leads, and now it's at like $20 leads. Like, here's another thing you can do. For example, like, a lot of people have old ads, but the housing category is broken, right? Like, they're missing a special category for housing. They can just leave the old ad. They can't turn the old one back on anymore because Facebook's disproved it. You could go into Facebook and add the housing category and relaunch it that way, or you can come into the reuse, select it, hit launch, and it'll now include the housing category when you add it. So that's another way of relaunching your old ads with the housing category. It's really, that's the functionality of it. But the moment you do that, to Rick's question, you actually can't turn the old one back on. Not through our system. You could turn it on Facebook's end, the old one, but your stats will all break on our end. And that's why we disabled it on our end, is we're essentially moving all the stats up now to the new ad, and then moving up to the new ad, if that makes sense. Because otherwise you wouldn't really know how well is my new ad doing versus my old ad, even though it's the same ad. So that's why we shut down the old ad and move all the stats to the new one.
Well, I had some ads that were doing really well, and I just turned them off a few days ago just to catch up with the leads I was getting, and I was just going to turn them back on as opposed to.
Yeah, Rick, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. You can just turn your ads back on. You can turn your ads off. You can turn them on, no problem.
Okay.
This is like, we've had some clients running an ad for a long time, and they've had the ad on maybe or they've never actually shut it off, but their stats, like if I could go right back to the ads here, they're just not getting the results they had before. When they're turning, and so they just want to give the ad a fresh new start with a brand new audience. Because what happens is that when you're running an ad on Facebook, and the guys talk about this a lot, Facebook is relying on it's targeting a specific set of people for this. And over time, that audience might get saturated or just kind of going down, down, down. You can turn this one on and off as many times as you want. And as long as it's not too long, like if you wait too long, sometimes it'll reset it. But if you're not too long, you just a couple days, you can turn this ad back on and off, and Facebook goes out and finds the same audience. But after a while, that audience may just get so saturated or depleted, or it's kind of gone off course, let's say. And you want to use the same social engagement of the ad, but you want a new audience. You can go and use the reuse function to accomplish that. Most people, what they do is they just relaunch a brand new ad and it goes up with a brand new audience, and they can A/B test the two ads. And that's a good practice too. You would only do what I'm saying is if the ad that you're turning on and off is just no longer working anymore. Like, every time you turn it on, it's almost like it's getting worse and worse and worse. So now you can go and reuse it, go out and get a new audience and keep that engagement.
Okay.
Cool. I mean, we're at 10 o'clock or my time. So we've been an hour, lots that we've covered. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
and so Steve, any idea for when that custom class will come out?
I don't have a date set for it yet. We're internally, like we're trying to add some more team members to the team. We're very busy here and it's good. So basically I'm just trying to kind of tie that up with a new member that's joining. So I don't know the exact date yet.
And then one more question. I know Mary asked Instagram, like what, do it, not do it? What are we looking for if we do it, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So we're actually going to be bringing all the stats on this side. So we're going to separate your lead cost per channel, Facebook and Instagram. Right now, because we're not showing you that, it is a little hard to sometimes launch new ads and pick Instagram because you're thinking to yourself, like, how do I know which one, where I'm going? So this is what I kind of what I've been using right now. I know some of the other team members are saying this too, and this is what we've seen. Let me just get another ad. Losing my voice here a bit, but if you're targeting, let's say, neighborhoods that you know the age demographic, a lot of them should be on Instagram. Like it's, you're targeting, let's just say, like a younger audience overall, then I would definitely include it. And what happens basically here is you have to have your page connected. So if you click this, it'll give you an error if it's missing it. Like in this case, it's missing it. So it'll give you this error. It'll show you how to connect it. You can go there and connect Instagram to your Facebook page. But if you have it connected, you can deploy ads to Facebook and Instagram. And really what that's telling Facebook is it's giving it 2 spots to find the ideal audience. The algorithm of people that Facebook is looking for is the same on both channels, but Instagram tends to be a little bit younger and Facebook tends to be a little older. So if you're targeting a neighborhood that you feel is like maybe a trendy neighborhood or upcoming or young families, I would definitely do both for sure. If you're targeting like maybe some older neighborhoods or you just feel like the demographic is older, you can just kind of ignore Instagram or add it. Facebook this is how it runs, and we run Instagram and all of our own ads for this reason too, is that technically you should overall pay a little bit less per lead. And the reason being is that when Facebook goes to auction and they're gonna spend your money to find the ideal client that they think is gonna be a good fit for your ad, if they only have Facebook, they can only find that client on Facebook. And let's say in that moment, to get that eyeball is 80 cents or per click. Let's just say it's 80 cents for that click. There is a chance that when you have both channels combined, that Facebook might be able to find that same similar person on Instagram now instead, and it's actually going to be a 70 cents click. The next time they may find that person back on Facebook again. And so the average cost per click, or what we call CPM, like the amount of people looking at your ad, should actually go down a little bit. That's what we found for experience. So I recommend people running it. The downside is because we're not showing you the stats right now on it, you don't really know which channel is doing the best. So we are adding that as a new feature. You'll be able to see it, and then you could say, hey, look, when I launch this ad, Facebook's clearly better than Instagram. I just wanted to go to Facebook. Or I just wanted, actually in this case, you can't do one or the other. You can have either Facebook and Instagram or just Facebook. But my recommendation is to add it, especially if your concern is lead price, you want to bring lead price down, add Instagram in and watch the stats. You should see it go down just a little bit. But again, it comes to the demographics. If it's the wrong listing or it's the wrong neighborhood, that may not be the case.
Buyers in general, I think, trending better on the Instagram side, and sellers, you more often than not, not always, it's changing, are Generation Y and baby boomers.
Yeah, so you're just expanding your audience ever so much by adding Instagram. So to me, if I was in your shoes, I would be adding Instagram into my ads. It's only like once you've connected your account, it's a one click, and then you don't. And the other thing a lot of people ask, you're not spending $9 on each channel. You're still spending your max $9 a day. It's just looking for leads on both channels. So you're still going to spend the same per day.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to let everybody go. If you have any other questions, let us know. Individually send us a message, or is there anything while you got us here that you want to say really quickly? Go for it. Nope. All right.
Quiet. I always feel like everybody's quiet at the end of mine, which isn't a good thing. That makes me feel maybe it wasn't really
They're contemplating, Steve. There's so much. This is great. This is great information.
Yeah, maybe too much.
It's recorded, so you can go back to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do run that ad tweaks class. So if you really do like diving a bit more into the ad side, or you want someone to look at your ads, attend our Tuesday ad tweaks class. And I'm on that, and I will look at your ads and go through them and help offer some tweaks and adjustments too. So that's on Tuesdays if you're interested.
Right. Cool. Thanks, guys.